Hello everyone, Filet Baked here. So, I recently played Sonic Colors again, and I had a great time with it. I personally give this game a solid 8 out of 10, and it's one of my personal favorite Sonic games, even ranking above the original Genesis trilogy and the adventure titles. But after playing through it again, I realized something. This game has a lot worth talking about, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. So, seriously, sit back and enjoy a review of almost everything in Sonic Colors, Part 1, Plot and Characters. The plot to Sonic Colors is pretty simple, but I think that works to its benefit. Eggman has enslaved a slew of planets that inhabit an alien race known as the Wisps in order to provide him with something they produce, called Hyper Gohan Energy. The reason he does this is that he wants to power his cannon facing Sonic's planet, enslaving the planet and making it the center of his amusement park. In his own words, it will be the greatest amusement park in the universe. When Sonic enters the picture here, Eggman has already taken control of the planets. However, he's struggling to kidnap the aliens. After Sonic learns about his plan, he sets out to destroy the tractor beams linking all the planets together before Eggman can siphon enough energy to power his cannon. However, in the first boss battle against the Rotatatron, one of its arms flies off and lands in one of the cannons, causing a crack. Tails manages to create a translator and uses it to communicate with one of the aliens named Yacker. Along the way, Yacker informs them of essentially what Eggman has been doing. Right before freeing Sweet Mountain or Starlight Carnival, whichever comes second, Eggman uses a smaller version of the mind control cannon on Tails to demonstrate the power to Sonic. Tails almost starts to fight Sonic, but Eggman runs out of energy before he can get the chance. After liberating all the planets from Eggman's control, Sonic believes he's won, but we find out that Eggman has actually got enough energy to power the cannon, and he decides to fire it up. However, the arm that got lodged into the cannon causes it to break and release a massive orb of encasing Hyper Gohan energy. Sonic, Tails, and Eggman need to escape before the orb encases them. As Sonic and Tails are about to mount the elevator on the way down, Eggman reveals his final invention of the Nega Wisp armor, which he claims can't be beaten. Sonic pushes Tails into the elevator and sends it down, deciding to face Eggman one-on-one. Sonic defeats him by combining all of the powers of the Wisps in one final strike. While trying to run away from the orb of energy, Sonic gets sucked in and almost dies, but is brought back by the Wisps carrying him out of the orb and leaving him back on his planet, where he finds Tails. Yacker flies down and tells them that the Wisps are leaving, and the game concludes with them making their planets vanish through weird space magic. Like I said, just because the plot is simple does not mean it's bad. There are a couple problems I have with it, but not many of them relate directly to the story itself. The first problem I have, which I'll probably touch on later, is that the dialogue doesn't make it very obvious what the plot is, which initially makes sense, but at the same time, this is a platformer. Most platformers' plots have relatively simple stories. Keep in mind, I said most. But even my favorite platformer of all time, Rayman Legends, has a relatively simple plot: save the Teensies. That's why you're going through all these levels, to save the Teensies. It's pretty simple to understand and it's satisfying to pull off. In this game, while playing it, I had a general idea of what I was doing and why I was doing it, but I never really had any of the specifics down at any given time. The second problem I have is also related to the dialogue, but as I said, I'll touch on this later. In my own personal taste, I think the dialogue is pretty cringy. Not all the time, of course, some of the lines are pretty good. For example, the scene right before most of the boss fights are pretty good, and nothing in any game ever will ever top the line, "No copyright law in the universe is gonna stop me." But after most boss fights, Sonic and Tails have these quirky little interactions that are, more often than not, really cringy. The evil purpose bit made my face look like I just sucked a lemon, I was cringing so hard. An asteroid coaster didn't leave me in any better of a state. This goes for most of the scenes involving Sonic and Tails, but thankfully it's not too distracting. Overall, the plot of the game is pretty good. While it's great in concept and execution, it becomes a bit hard to follow in gameplay. Now let's move on to the characters. Look, when I said I was covering almost everything, I meant it. Just because the plot is a bit hard to follow doesn't automatically devalue its characters, but that also doesn't mean all characters are on the same level. So let's go over each of them individually. Sonic is the protagonist here, so I might as well start with him. I'll get into how he controls later, but for now let's discuss his character. With this game, I think the writers were trying to modernize him by making him use words like epic in the first cutscene with him. I think this shift works pretty well, but as Charai5 points out in his video on Sonic Colors, this backfires a bit because it just dates him that much more. Sonic in this game is essentially the ideal protagonist. He's trying to stop a crusading mad scientist from enslaving aliens for his own personal benefit. He treats his friends well and is overall just a good guy in the course of the story. A good example of this would be before the third boss fight. After Tails breaks free of Eggman's mind control beam, Sonic catches him to assure he's doing okay. Overall, Sonic is a good protagonist to have in this game. Tails is the next one up on here, and to be honest, he doesn't serve that much purpose in this story here. Here's essentially what I mean in comparison to another Sonic game. In this game, I think the most Tails does in relation to the plot is create a translator to communicate with the Wisps, which he doesn't get fully fleshed out until after the game is over. Compare this to Sonic Lost World. While it's a bit cliche, Sonic attempts to break one of the containers believed to contain Flickies in order to free them, but Tails notices it's a trap and sacrifices himself to get captured. Tails is almost turned into a cyborg by the Eddie, but he manages to, and I'm not even kidding here, use a toothpick from the Fat One sandwich to reprogram the computer so it doesn't actually turn him into a cyborg. So when the Yeti revealed the new Tails to Sonic, Tails reveals himself to just look like a cyborg and then betrays the Yeti. It's not a massive plot point, but it's still technically more than he gets in colors. The only other thing Tails really does is get shot with / controlled by the mind control cannon later, but this scene lasts for less than a minute and is more so used to demonstrate the power of the laser. So Tails doesn't serve much of a purpose in the story here, which in my opinion makes him the weakest character of the bunch. For the last of the main trio, there's Yacker, the main Wisp companion. His main purpose in relation to Sonic and Tails is that he's supposed to tell them what he knows about what Eggman is doing. He's not just some omniscient know-it-all though, he's not aware of Eggman's master cannon plan. He's essentially just Omochao, but infinitely less annoying because, he can't speak English. He actually gives you useful advice and is also pretty cute. He's the one that tells the Payday Gang Sonic and Tails about the tractor beams, and about the fact that Eggman is enslaving his race. Is Sonic Colors a race war thing? I'm not the one to tell. Yacker does not serve a massive role in the story overall, but it doesn't make me mad like Tails. Because while Tails is Sonic's main companion and should serve a pretty good role in the story, Yacker is clearly just a pseudo-joke character with minor plot relevance. And I can't really fault a character for being exactly what they were designed to be, so overall, it's nice having Yacker around, and his departure, while leaving me a little sad, left me fully satisfied. Next up on the list is the big bad villain Dr. Eggman / Dr. Robotnik. I'm going to be calling him Eggman. He's honestly a good antagonist in this story, and I don't have much to say on him that I haven't already said in the plot section. It's a very black and white story. You can clearly tell who's in the right and who's in the wrong. Something that I'll touch on later is that there's something that Eggman does that I just find pretty cute, weirdly. All throughout the planets, you can occasionally hear in the background Eggman's voice over these pre-recorded messages, briefly explaining the part of the park you're in. Whether it be the exotic aquarium in Aquarium Park, or encouraging you to gamble in Tropical Resort, it's probably the most he actually interferes with gameplay. Other than that, I think he serves as a pretty good villain. He's pretty funny for most of the time, and he actually serves as a pretty good imposing threat with the mind control cannon. Good job, Eggman. Next up, yes, there are more characters, is Cubot, one of Eggman's robots. In this game, there are a total of 2 things that he does. He fails at catching aliens in the first cutscene, and he has a broken voice chip that serves as kind of an inconsequential B-story. This is my favorite character in the game. While you could really point to any of the characters and say they're your favorite, and I'd agree with you, for some reason I'll always love my dumb joke characters that serve no purpose to the plot. Cubot's big thing is that his voice chip is broken, and it needs to get fixed. It goes from Southern to Pirate Talk to apparently Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver, which I'm not even going to get into. All in all, the whole broken voice chip thing leads to some pretty funny jokes that I still laugh at to this day. He serves no purpose to the main plot and only exists as a comedic foil to Eggman in cutscenes, but I love him so much. Think we can get Cubot in the next Smash game? Lastly in the character roster, we have Orbot. Think Cubot, but British, and not as funny. This is my second favorite character in the game. I understand I'm sounding kind of like an idiot right now, but I really couldn't care less. Here's all I'm saying, okay? The Dark Brotherhood in Skyrim would be nothing without Cicero, Danganronpa would be nothing without Yasuhiro, and Sonic Colors would be nothing without Cubot and Orbot. Orbot is a lot like Cubot, but he does even less somehow. He's the one who tries to fix Cubot's voice chip, and he fails, but that just leads to more funny scenes involving Cubot. And that's pretty much it. Seriously, he does nothing. Does this mean you could theoretically remove him from the game and expect nothing to be different? No, heavens no. He's essential to the game, even if he isn't essential to the plot. If we're getting Cubot in Smash, maybe we could get an Orbot alt skin? That's going to be it for the first part of the Sonic Colors review. Tune in next time when we'll talk more about the worlds and the Wisps. Have a good day, everyone.